Alright, so this is Tenvis's website. I've gone in ahead and downloaded the program already. So I downloaded the newest one. I went from their website instead of using the CD so that I would make sure I had the latest updates. You can check the dates. 12/26/2014 is the newest one. That's the one I downloaded. So here it is. There's my camera. How I found it once I installed it was hitting the refresh button once plugging the Ethernet cable in, and it came up. Alright, so here we have the change name button. It's going to ask you to put in a new password instead of using the default password, so once you have that screen pop up, go ahead and put in a password. Make sure it's secure. This is your admin password. Alright, we'll save that. Pop-up box will pop up. I'm letting you know okay, and then the name. I just put home camera. You can name it whatever you want. Then you just click save. Alright, this thing down at the bottom is a QR code. You can scan that with your phone to set it up easier if you would like. There's also one on the bottom of the camera. Alright, let's go to Wi-Fi. I'm going to pick my Wi-Fi, connect, put in my password. Alright, it's connecting. Alright, it's set up. Okay, it refreshed. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and unplug the Ethernet cable once this is done. Alright, let me unplug the Ethernet cable. Alright, let me hit refresh, see if it's connected. It may take it a minute to connect to the Wi-Fi from the Ethernet cable. Alright, yeah. We'll hit refresh again. This should do it. Alright, there it is. Great. Notice we says unknown instead of the model number. Let's see if I refresh if it'll show the model number. Still showing unknown. Okay, so it wants me to authorize. Basically what this warning is saying is to make sure I'm the actual owner, since we're using a different IP now because the Ethernet cable gave it one and the Wi-Fi is giving it a separate one and wants the password. So we put the password in and it loaded. Great. Awesome. We're got the model number now. It's authorized. We're good to go. The advanced button basically gives you the place to set its static IP if you're using one. You don't have to, though. It does give it its own IP address. Let's click launch. Alright, this is the screen. You log in, put your admin, and then the password you made. It goes in the bottom. Great. Alright, here's the main dashboard screen. It's letting you know you're going to need a plugin to use this, to be able to use most of the settings. So you just click that button, it'll pop up a box to download the plugin. There we are. Alright, I downloaded the plugin. Here we have some controls, pan, tilt, zoom, all that stuff is... zoom's not there, but pan, tilt, all that is. This is the patrol. You can set it to patrol certain areas and set it to loop in the settings. Pretty simple to use, basic features of most IP cameras. Alright, then we have the IR LED. Oops, there we go. Alright, that's to turn on and off the little LED on the front. This is, you can change the brightness and contrast. And then you have your orientation, so basically you can turn it upside down if you have it upside down and all that. And then again, patrols was you can make a area presets, lets you set up different patrols, I would assume. And then the again IR LED. This is your SD card. Save things onto it. Let's zoom in, out. That's the microphone if you want to talk. This is the here, record, and then make your camera full screen. Alright, I'm not going to make you watch me install this, so it'll start up and I'll have it already installed. Alright, so here we have Tenvis loaded in Internet Explorer because Chrome wanted me to change settings to use the plugin. I apologize for the lines in the picture. That is a screen in my window. So this is what it looks like once you have the plugin installed and enabled and you're logged in. Okay, we're going to go over a few things here for you. The controls we'll go over, and some of the system settings. So here are the controls. We can go to the right, we can go to the left, go back to the right. Alright, we up and down. We have this cool feature where you can go up and to the left, up and to the right, down and to the right, down and to the left. I guess that really doesn't work if you can't see anything. Alright, so you got a capture button. You can take a screenshot, save to my D drive. I'm not quite sure where it got my D drive from, but okay. Let's go to... Okay, we can change our resolution here. And then we can change the megahertz and language for the settings. Alright, here we have some basic settings. Well, that's where I got the D drive from. I guess you can pick where you want to save screenshots to. Alright, device name, system information. Here you have user passwords. I would recommend changing these passwords and probably the usernames as well, just for security reasons. Here you can set up different network settings. The port is a good thing to change because if you're going to use more than one camera outside of your network, when you go to configure them, you're going to need to know what port they are. That way you know which one you're actually changing. So it's good to change those. Here we have Wi-Fi list. You can change your Wi-Fi, UPnP, and DHCP. So that's configured all on its own already. Alright, here we have alarms. So the alarms you can place in different zones. This can be your sensitivity. How do I get this to be bigger? Oh, we gotta get right on the edge, and you can drag it and make it bigger. Okay, that's neat. So I guess you can have 4 of these. Change the different sensitivities. When somebody walks or something moves in that area, depending on your sensitivity, it's going to set off the alarm and do what you tell it to do in some of the other settings. Okay, so we can have 4 of these different zones. Alright, turn those off. So that's pretty cool. I mean, what FOSCAM has is they have a grid layout right there on the screen, so you don't have selection of different zones. But you can turn on different areas, but the sensitivity remains the same for all of those areas. So that's a pretty cool idea, to give you the option to make different zones with different sensitivities. Alright, so then we have one. Say we put it over here. Let's say there's a gate right here. Alright, and we can change the sensitivity, because if we have somebody coming in, then we would want that to be higher than if we have, let's say, this one over here on the bird feeder. We're probably going to want to set the sensitivity on that one lower, just for the fact that we know things are going to be there often. Alright, here we have sound detection. You can turn it on, and if it hears anything, it'll set off an alarm. Alright, here we have the different type of actions to occur when the alarm goes off. So that's pretty cool. You can change these settings. One thing I will say is you do have to have a micro SD card for some of these to work, even if they're not the feature you're going to be using, even if you're not going to be saving onto the micro SD card. So, like, save to an FTP server, you would need a micro SD card. I'm guessing it saves the server settings onto the SD card. I'm not sure. You're just not able to turn them on without it. It also gives you the ability to save an image to the SD card. It gives you the ability to save video to the SD card. Let you snap pictures. And those pictures can be used in an email sent to you in other settings. So that's pretty cool. I don't have a micro SD card plugged into mine to be able to show you. So otherwise I would be able to turn them on and play around with that. These is your, right here is alarms timer. So basically you would turn on, turn off the different times for the alarm to be active. So I mean that's pretty cool. Alright, here we have our email settings. I recommend Google to set this up. It's just like setting up your phone. You would go and make a Google account, put in the account name and password on the screen. You would get the SMTP server just like you were setting this up on your phone. Type it in here. Change support. I believe Google uses TLS for their authentication. And then your receiver would be your email. The only reason I say to use a different email to send them is so your email doesn't get spammed. Alright, this here is an advanced message that you can change and configure. This is also where your 3 pictures would go, if you had that setting selected. Here's an FTP server. This is my favorite feature of wireless IP cameras. You put in your FTP server and it will upload. If you don't have an FTP server, you can find them for IP cameras online. Alright, so here you have time recording. You can enable time recording. It'll record in a certain time. And then here you have time capture. This is pretty neat. You can save it to the SD card. You can email it. You can upload it to an FTP server. So that's some pretty cool settings. Basically, whatever time you set, it will automatically record those times and save them for you. That can be useful if you know you're going to be gone 8 to 5 and you don't want the motion detector to be on, sending you those emails because you know cars are going to drive by. You can set this to save. If anything happens where you need the footage, you just got to go to wherever it was saved, FTP server or the micro SD card, and retrieve it, and that's your proof of what happened. Again, you can't turn these features on unless you have that micro SD card installed. It's one of the downsides because every camera you're going to buy would require a micro SD card as well. As where the Foscam that I've set up before did not require the micro SD card to be installed for me to be able to set up the FTP server settings. So that's one downside. And again, like I said, if you don't have an FTP server, you can go and get one online. They're pretty inexpensive and they're made just for these cameras to store the footage. I believe they have some settings where after like 30 days they wipe themselves clean to save you space, and so they're inexpensive. So I'm definitely going to have to get a micro SD card for this camera so I can enable these awesome settings that are here. Here we have the video parameters, audio parameters. You can play around with this. Audio, I don't know much about the parameters, I don't get into that. And then we have here the settings, pan settings, so you can change the speed. Cruise laps is the number of laps you're going to have it do. Cruises around in the patrol. That's how many laps it'll do before the patrol ends, and then you have to start the patrol again. Self-center, I normally leave that off. That's okay if you're going to use it, but if you don't want the camera to be centered, there's no point in using it. It's just going to stay wherever you leave it. And then we have system settings, backup. This is to back up your settings in case something happens, so you can restore. Then we have a system upgrade. You would have to go to Tenvis's website, download any firmware, and then update it. Restore to factory default, and then device restore. I mean, it's really not a bad camera if you think about it. I'm going to go ahead and show you the camera setup so you can see it. Alright, so this is the IP camera we just finished setting up. It is small. As you can see, it's sitting in my windowsill. You can barely see it. If I didn't have that screen on the outside, you wouldn't have those lines. Again, I do apologize about that. One thing I'm going to talk about is the app. This is the app. Let me zoom out a little bit for you. Alright. So there's the app right there. I did have to register an account, which I don't really like doing, just to have access to a camera I bought, but that's what it made me do, so I did. I will go ahead and grab the camera, and I will show you how to set up the app. Alright. So, here we have the app. I'm going to hit add camera. It's searching right now for the Wi-Fi. No camera. Okay. Manually add a camera. Okay. Allow it to use your phone. And what you're going to do is place the camera right up to the code. There you go. You can name the camera here. You put in your password for the camera here, which is going to be the password you set up. And then you uncheck use default password, because we're not using the default password because we did change the password. The name does not have to match what you named it online. The name is for your app. The camera model is here, along with options to change that, which we're not going to since we found it via the code, the QR code that was on the bottom of the camera. So I'm going to go ahead real quick and put in my password and the camera name to show you what it does. Alright, I hit save. It's processing. I apologize for the horrible view. I'm going to go ahead and put the camera back. Alright, now we have the app with the camera set up, and there's the camera, live view. We can move the camera from right here. So I'm going to zoom back in on the camera. Alright, now you can see I'm going to move the camera from my phone. Again, that's me moving the camera from the phone. Alright, so that's some options on the app. Let me focus in to my phone. There we go. Alright, so there's the ability to listen, talk, take pictures and record. That's from accessing this menu here. And then if we tilt the phone, it goes into the larger view of the camera, which unfortunately right now you're staring at my floor. I'm not sure how to get the app to zoom, as with the FOSCAM you just tap. That doesn't seem to be working. Maybe pinch, nope. That's to move it. Alright, so we can move it side to side, left and right, up and down. I don't see any way to zoom in though. So that may be an issue if you want to just use the app. So if you have any questions, feel free to comment below. Don't forget to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and subscribe.